All right, CIS255 database environment. Let's examine some database stuff. So in the last video, we connected to Azure Labs. We started Hyper-V Manager. We started our nested VM, and I pointed to some things here that I want to draw your attention to. So let's start here with the simplest. Now, your VM might have different items in here than mine does. I've been adding some things, taking some things away, typing up things that I want to demo, deleting things that after I demo them, I want you to type and then send me results as assignments and things like that. Okay, so the CIS255 folder here. Okay, I've got Microsoft Access installed. Now, depending on when I publish this, your recently used list may have more or fewer items in this. I have a separate video for examining the Northwind database. Northwind is a database that Microsoft has been using as its demo for decades. Okay, so why reinvent the wheel, right? Rather than making my own database, I went and downloaded this demo and got it installed. Okay, we can create new databases. We can examine, existing databases. We can use these templates to generate databases other than blank databases, right? So that's Microsoft Access. We're going to start here, okay, because it's the easier of the products to learn as it relates to databases. Okay. Here, once Oracle Database Express gets installed, and I'm going to do that for you, even though here's a lecture video under week 1. If you want to do this yourself, you have access to the downloaded file. How do you get it installed? Well, just watch this video and it'll walk you through the steps. Okay, but once it's installed, it generates this desktop shortcut. The shortcut brings up a web page and it looks like this. Now, it is rare that you'll spend any time here. But if you're curious, you can look and see, right, how much disk space are you using, how much RAM and CPU cycles. System and system are the default passwords. Well, I shouldn't say default. They're what I made the passwords. And then you can log in and you can see I've got some table spaces. Table spaces are databases, right? We're going to talk extensively about this kind of stuff. Hey, how big are my databases? Well, you could see, right? They're pretty small, relatively speaking. But these aren't the databases or table spaces I'm concerned with. Okay. You're a long way off from doing modifications or housekeeping, troubleshooting here, right? But it's here for you if you want to look. Please, for the love of all things holy, do not make any modifications. If you break the system table space, you're going to break your ability to access other databases, and that will negatively impact your score in this class. Okay, because guess what you'll be doing with most of your time? Accessing other databases. SQL Developer. This is a Java-based program. When you open it, it can take a good 5 minutes to start. But when it starts, at least one tab will show up across the top. If you had additional tabs open when you closed it, those tabs will be remembered and they will reopen for you. First time you're in this program, you'll see this welcome page. Now, I have installed the Mike Murock test databases. These APEX and OM databases, these are the databases we're going to use to test syntax of queries. We may end up creating our own databases or table spaces. We'll see how far we get during the semester. I don't have high hopes for that. There's so much material to cover, and unless we fly through all of it, Okay. So these databases are already generated for you, and you can connect to these databases by opening, and the usernames should be remembered for every database. The password is, in lowercase, the same name as the database, right? So it's just AP. It's not the C hashtag hashtag. Click OK, and we'll give it 10 minutes. I'm just kidding. It shouldn't take 10 minutes, but sometimes. All right, here we are. Let's take a look at the tables in the AP database. Let's bring up the General Ledger Accounts table. It'll open in its own tab. Now, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but we're going to have to learn about these things. Okay, column names. Okay, records. Individual fields, right, which is an intersection between a row and a column. Okay, let's pick one that has some more stuff in it. Look at the columns. In the vendors table, you're going to be able to pull data from this table, but you have to know the table name. You have to know the column names. Okay, so I can select all the vendors by name so long as I know that the table space name is vendors and the column name I want is vendor underscore table. The name that's listed here, now casing doesn't matter, uppercase, lowercase, whatever. Okay, best practice dictates that keywords we type are going to be typed in all uppercase, but column names are going to be lowercase, clauses will be uppercase, right? Logical conditions will be uppercase. Okay, so we have these clauses where invoice date is equal to some date. We're going to spend a boatload of time here. Okay, but let's go back to the vendors table. Here is the layout of this table. Where's the data in the table? Boy, if only they made it easy on you. Just click on data and you'll wait. Okay, how many records are in this table? Well, there's no, unless you see something here I don't. There's no easy way, so we have to scroll to the bottom. 122, does that sound about right? I'm trying to scroll down farther. I don't see any additional records. Well, some databases you work with, instead of 122 records, maybe they have 122,000 records. 1.2 million records. I've interviewed people, worked with SQL and Oracle database admins, DBAs, who have worked with databases in the terabyte size range. 1 to, I think the largest database anybody I've ever spoken to has worked on was 12 terabytes. One database. That's a terrible idea for a number of reasons. Some of those reasons we'll talk about. But these connections to these databases are given in the virtual machine that I have built for you. So let's connect to the EX table space. Let's see if I can get connected here. What's the password? Lowercase e, lowercase x. And I could do exactly the same thing here. Now, don't worry that I didn't cover all of this stuff. There's too much stuff in here to cover. This is meant to be a quick overview of getting connected. So let's load all the tables. Let's take a look at employees. So I've got a table named employees. I've got 9 records in it. Let's take a look at the column layout. Okay. Now, we're going to introduce you to some concepts here called data types, null values, and keys, primary keys, foreign keys. We're going to introduce you to a concept called a left inner join, where I can write one query to pull data from multiple tables. So I can pull data from the customers table and, let's do employees and projects. Which employees worked on which projects? Well, I have to write a query to join these two tables. Write my query in a manner that the result set comes out formatted properly and with the correct data. Okay, and that's where I'll introduce you to these things. Okay, this is my query builder, and if you've ever used PowerShell, the PowerShell ISE or any other kind of integrated service environment, ISE, this works exactly the same. This version of Oracle SQL Developer works perfectly with the version of Oracle SQL Server that we're using, right? Which is why I'm using this and not Visual Studio Code or some other application. Okay, so SQL Developer. Okay, so let's close this out by creating a blank database. I can call it whatever I want. Notice the default save location is in my Documents folder. Let's see, what do I have in my Documents folder already? Did I delete any of my old ones? Nah, they're all still here, right? Even the one called Delete Me. Hey, but anyway, so let's create database 2, whatever. That's a great name, right? No, it isn't. But anyway. Access is a very stripped down version of SQL Developer and Oracle Server or Microsoft SQL Server. And I can also use SQL Developer to connect to that. Very lightweight. I would not put enterprise level data in here because it's a workshop or a work group database, not an enterprise database server. Sharing data in the same database, not terribly difficult, but it doesn't allow for the same number of connections. Queries can be super limited. If you write a query that pulls too much data, you could crash the application. Okay, but it's great for very small databases. Now, in SQL Developer a minute ago, I showed you databases where tables are already designed. Well, let's customer ID. Let's create just a BS bogus table. Field 1. Okay, do I want to add another field? Let's define a data type. Okay. Do I want my customer ID to be text or numbers? Now, don't be fooled. Customer ID, even if it's all numbers, can be formatted as text. Generally speaking, the delineation, are you going to be performing math against this number field? And if the answer is no, then you can use text and have a customer ID that's all numbers. That's perfectly fine. One thing you want to watch, though, if you decide you're going to use numbers, leading zeros may get chopped off. Well, what if you need the leadings? Then use text instead. So we'll just pick short text. Okay. Field 2, customer name. Okay. And so I can start building out tables here. Okay. Well, actually, I did this kind of ass backwards, pardon my French. I should be naming my my columns up here, but this is my data entry view. This is my data sheet view. If I go to design view, it's going to ask me to save it. So let's save it as delete me, and let's go to design view. Okay, my bad. Okay, so let's do customer ID. Let's keep it text. Let's do customer name, and let's keep that at text. Although, depending on my names, maybe I want to use a different data type than short. Now, what I like about Access is its learning curve is not that great. It's not that high. I can see things like short text has a default field size of 255 bytes. This is how much space is reserved on disk and in memory if your customer ID field, which is also short text, will never be longer than 8 characters. There's nothing wrong with that. Please, please, please keep in mind potential future expansion. Okay, so maybe you want to go with that. Right? Memory on servers today is so cheap. 12 bytes of memory versus 8. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to notice. Okay. If I change a data type to a number, look at how excuse me. Oh my God, sorry. My properties change. Long integers, short integers. Do I want decimal places? If so, how many? Do I want an input mask? So if I'm entering, well, let's see, order total in dollars, right? My input mask might be a pattern. So let's see if there are some existing patterns we might use. Yeah, please. Okay, I don't have any validation rules, so read that message if you see it, but yes, I want to continue. Oh, you are killing me. Okay. Anyway, we can come in here and we can start making modifications to the field properties. Okay, and then I can change my view back to datasheet view. Yes, save the table. I thought I just did that. Customer ID 123456. Order total 100.99. You bugger. Okay, Access will do that. You'll have to set up what we call constraints. We'll get there. We want to forcibly choose 2 decimal places. We want to set up an input mask that only accepts, if I type in 101, I want that to come out as 101.00. Okay, that kind of thing. Okay, so pretty basic stuff. I'm going to have you create a database using Access in a separate lab. Let's close this and let's take a look at, let's grab this one. Yeah, probably this is a good one to use. There's a lot of stuff here. This is where we'll close this video. One of the things I like about Access, especially as it relates to learning how to use databases, I can build forms where I can choose which employee to log in as. I can build dashboards. Now, today with Oracle and SQL Server from Microsoft, I can use Power BI, right, to build dashboards. I can use front-end web applications to design things like that logon form. But I don't want to get, we'll talk more about this later as we go, but there are pre-existing tables. There are pre-existing, let's see what we have here. Okay, contracts. Okay, object properties. Let's take a look. Okay, shortcut to a query. Pre-built queries. Awesome. I love it. Scroll down here. Product transactions. Ooh, what is that? Oh, a short. This is the icon type for left inner joins. I'm writing I didn't. The designers for Northwind's database are pulling data from multiple tables. Hence the join, right? This is like a Venn diagram, and the stuff that's in the middle, that's the stuff that gets returned. Okay, I've got forms. I've got all manner of stuff. Now, we are not going to talk about all of this. Much of this is way outside the scope of this class. But the Northwind's database is the database that me and many of my peers used when we were first learning database design, like way back in the day. because it comes with all this stuff already. And then you just have to, the labs that Microsoft gave us at the time, or you could write your own queries, but you didn't have to worry about designing the whole database, which is going to take forever and a day. We're going to talk about database design. Okay, but we're going to build up to something that looks like this. We're not going to jump right into the deep end. Okay, so that's Microsoft Access. That's Oracle SQL Server, and that's Oracle SQL Developer. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.